bookish friends, welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is an October wrap-up. I'm starting to think maybe I should get back into wrap-ups. I read 5 books in the month of October and I'm here to tell you all about them. Let's jump right into it. Let's start off with the 5-star reads and then work our way down.
It could change the world.
First up, we have Destroy All Humans. They Can't Be Regenerated, the Magic the Gathering manga. I cannot tell you how happy this made me, okay? In case you didn't know, I am a Magic player. I love Magic the Gathering. This manga is everything. Basically, it takes place in like I'm pretty sure it's 1998. Our main characters are 2 middle schoolers named Emi and Hajime. It's 5 years right after the start of Magic the Gathering, so it's starting to build in popularity. Hajime is the sweatiest Magic player. He is so cute. He runs a mono black deck, so if you know what that means, like think like a Reanimator and cards focused around like death, and then Emi plays a mono white deck, so like angels, things like that. So Emi is the smartest girl in school, gets straight A's, all of those things. Come to find out, when Hajime finds out that there is a local game shop in his town in which he can go meet other people and play Magic the Gathering, he goes there and there is a player who everybody is trying to play because they are on a winning streak, and guess what? It's her. She would not be caught dead in school playing this because it's considered to be like super niche, nerdy. You don't really find a lot of girls jumping into Magic because there's like a lot of sweaty dudes there, but she is in there killing it. And so this whole first volume is about their rivalry and also their friendship. It's so cute. The next volume I'm pretty sure is gonna have to do with them going to like their first tournament. But if you are a Magic player and you kind of want to get a feel for like what this is, think about it in this way. It's like the characters are playing mono-colored decks because they're like, what do you mean you can play dual color? It's so cute. Like it's a throwback. The nostalgia is so good. They also bring up a lot of references to 1990s like games and memorabilia and whatever. It feels very 90s, and if you enjoy the 90s, you're probably going to like this. If you don't play Magic, maybe, I don't know if I would suggest this to somebody who doesn't play Magic, but it would probably be a good way for somebody to learn how to play Magic. But if you're not familiar with it, it might be a little bit confusing. Ultimately, I gave this 5 stars. I love it. I cannot wait for the second volume. This next book has to get its own independent review. This might actually go onto my best books of the year list. This is our Migrant Souls, Meditations on Race and the Meaning and Myths of Latino. I read this for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I absolutely love this book. What was interesting to me about this was that, like, you know, there's a lot of things that I already know in here, both as a Latina but also as someone who's helped different family members get their green card and like been through working through the immigration process, not for myself but like for family members and things, in various capacities. And I think it educates for those of you who are not familiar with that process, but also, or if you are Latina, it's like there's stuff in here I think for you too. I think that the target audience is both people who are not familiar with the experience of being a Latina immigrant, but also a first and second generation Latina person in the United States. This is about examining what it means to be Latina in the United States in the past like 10-20 years. So they go through talking about how does DACA work, how does TPS work, how does asylum work, which are things to educate people who are unfamiliar with those processes. But also what I really liked about this was that it spent some time talking about how we build culture once we come to the United States, or how families build culture and how culture changes through assimilation. If you're an Osabo kid, like I was and mostly still am, because I had to teach myself Spanish because my family chose not to teach me Spanish growing up, right? It's this idea of like part of the American dream is that you are fully assimilated into American culture. It's the whitewashing of culture, and therefore you speak the language that is going to make you money. The whole point of coming here is to create a comfortable life for the future generations, right? But then the harm that is done as far as like the way that Latina culture sometimes perceives itself, and this division that is caused between different Latina groups and where they kind of settle. Another really important thing was examined in here, and that I really thought was important, is the way that values of said families will change and what causes those families to start to perceive other Latinas as the problem, dependent on their migrant path. It's the title of the book, right? Why do some people who have gone through this experience sometimes become more conservative? And how is it the way that different policies and the way that Latina culture is expressed in media and in writing and in politics, how does that frame the way that we see each other and like come with a sense of identity for those of us who are like first and second generation? Just fed my soul. One thing that the author does in here is they go to different prominent towns throughout the United States. Like Paterson, New Jersey is known for having a heavily Dominican population, and then it goes to like different areas where there's different populations and kind of asking them questions for a survey. Because I think they were a professor at, I think it was in California, don't remember where exactly, but cannot recommend this book enough. I loved it. Okay, going down to, what did I give this book? I think I might have given it a 3.5. This is Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This was kind of like watching a horror movie and just eating popcorn, you know, just like having a salty, sweet, junky snack. Something that I do appreciate about Grady Hendrix is that they do gimmicks really well. So I was on my toes. It was super fun to read, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't scary at all. It was mostly about the twists and turns. We're following this main character, Lynette, I think her name is, and she is part of the Final Girl Support Group. So in this world, all of the horror movies, all of the slasher movies are real. Like in the sense that all of them are based off of real events, and then they were then commercialized and turned into a franchise. And so people glorify the slashers and the final girl in these movies, but these girls actually exist. And so what happens to them after the movie, right? How do they like cope with the trauma that they've been through? And all of them cope with it in different ways. I necessarily am not like sprinting to pick up the next Grady Hendrix book. I really do enjoy horror that just genuinely creeps me out. So I will say that even though this was a fun time, it wasn't really creepy. It was just like good for horror season, I guess. Then we have Luminous Dead by Caitlyn Starling. This was the sci-fi book club pick for October. This one is, this one's a little tricky to talk about. What did I give this? I feel like I settled on a 3 or maybe 3.25. But as I think about it more, I'm kind of settling down to like a 2.5. So we're in a cave for the entire thing. If you're claustrophobic, you are not gonna like this. Geyer is our main character who's gone to this cave because she desperately needs money. It's in a way future where we're on other planets and planets are being mined for different materials. Geyer takes on this task of doing this job where they're made to go into these caves, but they don't necessarily know why they're going in. And they are in this suit that is fully encapsulated, deals with all of their bodily fluids. They cannot take their helmet off because there are these creatures in the caves that if they are scented, they will come and attack. And they have someone who is up above through their like head comm directing them where to go throughout the tunnel. So they're going in search of something, but they don't know exactly what they're in search of. So it is a fun time. It is sapphic. However, this dragged on for me. I feel like this was one of those things, and it is a debut novel, so I will say that I was a little bit impressed for a debut novel to keep me so engaged, and the premise was really good. However, the resolution was just kind of for me, and there was probably like a good 100 pages that could have been cut out for this. I feel like it was just trying to hit a word count, and I was like, can we end now, please? What a mess. This is just a mess of a time, okay? So I buddy read The Handyman Method. And if you've been following me, you might know that Nick Cutter is one of my favorite horror authors. I enjoy Nick Cutter's writing because the body horror, to me, is just my flavor. The cosmic horror is just, I could eat it up all day. And the premise of this being about watching a white male, toxic, masculine character just be emasculated is like so delicious to me. But the execution of this just wasn't there in the end. Hear me out. So here's what happened. I rated this 3.75 originally. I feel like I'm bringing it down to 3.25, possibly 3 as time goes on. The reason why I really liked this and I really messed with this was because the horror is exactly what I want. It is liminal, it is cosmic, it is gross, it is just like, right? And at first, it was everything that I wanted it to be. But then with the whole point of this being to criticize toxic masculinity, the way that the authors decided to wrap this up just doesn't make any sense. And so I'm not sitting here telling you to read it. I'm just telling you that my flavor for horror is the only thing that's keeping this rating so high, because actually when you think about it critically, it's shit. Take my rating with a grain of salt. The ending is horrible. I'm just a sucker for the flavor. I see what the authors tried to do here. And so here's the thing, right? We have two white male authors who are trying to do something about social commentary. And basically what this told me was that, Nick Cutter, please don't do social commentary. Please just stick to horror. Just stick to cosmic horror. Don't do social commentary. This is not for you, honey boo boo. Because at the end of the day, there's still two white male authors who are, yes, you're criticizing something that you can wrap your head around, which is toxic masculinity, but in order to have that lens, you need a female character to kind of like counter that, and it just didn't work here. Anyway, those are the 5 books that I read in the month of October. If you've read any of them, please let me know in the comments what you think about these. I have a Patreon and a Coffee page where you can support my channel and also get extra content from me. I post videos whenever I feel like it. Thanks for watching. Bye!
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka work the factory.
In your wildest dreams, you put out the legend.